Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very special live edition of Data Talks Brazil, the
Yeah,
first one that is international.
international. Yeah, we are super excited about this live. It's the first one, so please be nice with us, right? We are doing our best. So, yeah, thank you for being here, guys. And I'm so happy to have this
Oh,
live today.
great, great. Perhaps at any time people can like try artificial intelligence to understand what we are saying. But anyway, it's gonna work.
Yeah,
Okay, guys. So thank you so much for being with us today. This is Data Talks Brazil, a podcast focused on data analytics, cloud computing, and a bunch of tech stuff that me and Jessica started last year.
yes,
And tonight we are just having our first English international live session.
edition. Yeah,
Yeah, international live edition, and we are having two very special guests from the AWS community builders. That's Suleiman and Brian Huff. Hello, guys.
hello.
Hey,
Welcome.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Thank
yeah,
you
thanks
so
for
much for
having
being here with us today.
me.
Okay, so Suleiman and Brian Huff, if you guys want like to introduce yourself for everybody that is watching.
Hey, Brian, after you.
I was gonna say after you. uh it's always hard being the first one.
Yeah.
I'll just go really quickly. Yeah, so my name is Brian Huff. I do a lot of like Web 2 and Web 3 development. I got started in cloud development, kind of actually ironically, like not by choice. I got really thrown into open source work during the pandemic, as like all builders were, but I was kind of a UI UX person, so I was never really on the tech side. I mean, like in a professional sense, and I was like learning about all these different things that we were integrating in, and I was leading the design on it, and we started building a microservice. I learned like, oh, what is a microservice? And then we use this thing called AWS Lambda. I was like, what's this thing called AWS Lambda? So that was kind of like my first exposure to just using something with AWS. And then I started learning like, oh, so like you can create like features, you can create services, you can build apps and then deploy those on, not your server, but like other people's servers. So like you
Mm,
rent space in other servers. So that was kind of my exposure to software. And then I work professionally as a full stack software engineer. I've been really focused on like AWS stacks this year. Last year was kind of like focused a lot more on like blockchain, not as much this year. It's more like cloud stuff, but it's really cool to balance between like decentralized and centralized structures. So I kind of like vibing between different tech stacks and like learning cool innovative tools.
Cool.
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So my name is Suleiman and I'm an AWS community builder, the storage track. Yeah, I started my career in cloud about maybe 4 years ago. And the reason why we started it is my company was having, some of the client and company was having hard time with the data that they generating, right? So we were trying to find a better solution to be able to store our data locally as well as in cloud so that we, when it comes to disaster recovery, in case something go bad on prem, you have your data on the cloud. This is kind of how I get started into cloud. And then slowly I start learning about new services and I get deeper and deeper into that. So, but in
Mm,
the AWS community builder, I'm in the storage track. So I focus basically on storage, how to
and
store data properly and retrieve them.
Cool, cool. And Suleiman, you are also an AWS user group leader, right?
Yes, we just took over the AWS user group in Seattle, and
Cool.
I'm co-leading that with two of my friends, one AWS hero and then one AWS community builder. So we
oh,
have our first event tomorrow at AWS Skill Center in Seattle. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah,
oh, great.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
This is
can
such
you tell where are you from? And you and Brian, just for everyone here, can
Yeah, I'm originally from Africa. I was born and raised in Cote d'Ivoire, but I'm living in Seattle for several years now. So I'm located in the Seattle area.
Seattle.
cool.
Okay,
Mhm.
Brian.
I'm from Boston on the East Coast, so I'm used to some cold weather, but we're getting some nice warm weather now.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of. I was there twice. I mean, in California and Florida. Of course, I am Brazilian, so I am looking for something, a good weather, right? Hot weather. So thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us.
Cool. Thanks again, guys, for being with us tonight. We have a bunch of people watching. Thank you, guys, for being with us tonight. Everybody that is watching. So, guys, I'm just gonna start. Like, you're from AWS Community Builders. Before we talk about that, I would like to ask each one of you, how did you guys begin to work with AWS? How did it all begin? Brian already told something about working with Lambda functions and start deploying stuff. You and Suleiman, tell us a little bit more about how did it all start?
Yeah, so it's all started just like I mentioned earlier, so where my company was trying to find a better solution to start storing things in the cloud. You know, some of the customers were using Google Cloud, Microsoft OneDrive, but those were not enterprise, right? So I started
Oh,
looking deeper and deeper into AWS or S3, which is one of the oldest services AWS has it. And then I started learning about it, and I said, okay, this is cool. This is really
and
nice.
also
This
one
is
of the most
secure.
efficient one, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's very cheap, easy to learn. So I started getting deeper and deeper into that, and I started getting certification on top of that. This is kind of how I started my career in the cloud.
okay. Okay.
Cool.
Mhm.
So you used to work as a infrastructure. I mean, before the cloud, you were working as an infrastructure focused on a storage, or how was that before?
So I was a solution architect for a small company in the Seattle area. So we were focusing on selling server hard drive and hardware to companies. And then some
Mhm.
of the companies were using the server for on-prem storage as well as the cloud storage. So this is kind of how I get started. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, kind of with Suleiman, like it was kind of the need to learn these things that prompted my getting into it. So yeah, I gave that story of how I we took, so basically we were building a symptom tracker, and it was a decentralized application, and then we were layering on like other services on top of it. So we had these different like microservices, right? And then one of those was a Lambda function. Um, and then that was like interacting with our application in a, in a unique, cool, utilized way. And it was kind of like after that point that I was like, oh, interesting. AWS is like, it always seems so nebulous because I obviously, like, everyone knows about Amazon.com, but I didn't, like, you don't know what you don't know. It's like I didn't know about like Amazon Web Services in terms of like building on it. I knew that it was a thing, but I never had like up close and personal like interactions with it until then.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, there's like a lot to unpack here. I want to learn more. And then I happened to see someone post about the AWS Community Builders program on
Mhm.
Twitter. And like that was like, I was like, oh my goodness, like we just used AWS. Oh, I make content. Like this is perfect. Like I was like, I probably won't get in, but like whatever, like let's just go for it. I was kind of in that era of like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that else won't will just happen. So I just happened to apply, and then that was really what I think accelerated a lot of my getting into cloud, because it was like take practical experience in open source, take really in-depth learnings through the community builders program, and then it was like, oh, I see how knowing these skills can make me build these things, knowing these things help me scale these types of systems. So it was a
Cool.
lot of like being inspired to like figure out like, oh, how would I build a social media platform? How would I build a text to speech microservice? How would I build um, like a text extraction kind of
Mhm.
like data extraction tool for documents, stuff like that. So it's a lot of like need based. And then once I learned like all these different services, I was like, oh, okay, now I need to learn programming, and, like, for these different languages like YAML for like cloud formation, or JSON structures for templates and stuff. So yeah, it's been a kind of like a crazy wild journey, very not
Cool.
linear.
Yeah, long
Yeah, but what is linear these days? You know,
Yeah, no, right.
it's
True.
it's really
thing.
difficult.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you
Yeah.
think that I mean, you mentioned it, the open source technologies, right? And you think that this area, I mean, really use cloud as a base. I mean, you see that this open source technologies put you on a way for cloud more than the old. I mean, the other technologies, they are not open source. Do you see that?
Yeah, it's been very interesting because I got really into software engineering by going to hackathons. So that is a premise of being like open source, because people will open source their repositories at the end, and then people will, check out what you built and those types of things. So I really benefited from open source just as having opportunities to build on things, and also kind of co-collab and like work with other people that are like much smarter, and you like vibe and you build something cool. So yeah, I think open source just only makes developers better, and I think just having opportunities to build too is really important. I know with the community builders program, like there's been a lot of really great opportunities to build something and then write a blog post and share it, or an internal hackathon and build something. So it's nice to foster that type of community, because it's like no one's stealing code. It's like you're building your thing, everyone building other thing, but then you can learn how other people did certain patterns and share, and then like everyone's stronger because of that. So yeah, I think the open source community is really cool. It's like very unique group of
Yeah, and this that you said that feeling stronger because you share your coding knowledge with everyone. I really felt that when I started coding. I'm very excited about the open source code community as well, and I really felt that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think open source is the way to go. And then I've learned a lot from open source. Just like I said, when I first started, and then I was doing some researches and I stumbled into DevTools. And then I saw some really nice articles that were explaining on the basic level how to get started on some of the area that I was lacking expertise. And then once I saw that, I said, oh, this is amazing. This is a place where people can come and learn for free. And I start contributing as well. That's kind of how I also get into the AWS Community Builder, because after I heard about the program and apply, and I share some link to my blog post, and then I get accepted. And then, just from there, I keep writing blogs and stuff like that.
Cool, really cool. And for you guys who are watching us, don't you guys think that when we say open source, we are not related to like corporate stuff or enterprise environment? Because when you will think about data analytics or machine learning, essentially we on a daily basis deal with open source technology, for example, Python, PySpark, Airflow, TensorFlow and MXNet for deep learning whatsoever. A lot of open source technologies, and AWS itself, it benefits a lot from open source, and like they get a lot of open source technology and like give it to you as a service, so you don't have like to manage servers, to manage infrastructure. This is genius.
Yeah, you just need to use it, right? To make the best for your problem, for your technical problem, because they already deal with all these
Yeah,
technical
cool.
aspects. Yeah.
Not only use it, but contribute if you can as well. It's very important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Cool. Okay, so both of you guys mentioned that AWS Community Builders Program had a very important part on you guys beginning to work with AWS. So let's like let's like do a step back. What is AWS Community Builders? So what
Yeah.
do we guys do there? What is it for? What is it?
So
So,
I took the big question the first time. Do you want to take the big question this time? These are
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
god, where do I begin?
AWS Community Builder is, I think it's like a club of anybody out there who has passion to learn anything that's related to AWS.
Cool.
AWS Community Builder, we have a private Slack channel, and then we have application. I think it's twice a year or once a year. I don't remember exactly. So anybody who has passion, you don't have to be necessarily a cloud expert, right? Just know a little bit about cloud. If you have a desire to learn more, once the application opens, you can go ahead and apply. And then once you accept it, you will get into that group where you have access to people all over the world. Amazing network. I met all you guys, we met there, right? So it's just an amazing thing to be. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me in the since I joined the club about a year ago. And this is year 2. Can't wait to get year 3 out of it too.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is something that it is supposed you're supposed to learn to get, but also to contribute. This is really awesome. Yeah.
okay,
And something
so
that really great that you mentioned is that you get in touch with people all around the world, with user group members, with other community builders. But it is also cool that you get in touch with a bunch of people from AWS. I remember there was this one time. I'm just gonna tell like one quick story. There was this one time that I had a problem with EMR. We use EMR a lot for big data processing, and we got stuck in a library dependency configuration that was not working. We were changing the library version; it was not changing somehow. And then, oh my god, we like got stuck for 2 days trying to fix it. And I got this really great idea. Oh, I'm gonna share with the guys in the community builder Slack. So maybe anyone knows something about it. And then I did it. Okay, so I have this problem with EMR. Does someone had something similar? Can somebody help? And then a really amazing and a gentle, a kind guy, Damon Dacord Cortese, which is part of EMR developing team in AWS, took the question and say, "Hey, Nate, this is Damon Dacord. I am on an EMR developing team. The problem is because of that, this, and that.
Oh my
And you
god.
can solve it doing that. We are working on it." Okay, great. This
Oh
was
my
like awesome.
god.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's
inside
awesome.
So
information.
great.
You can talk, yeah, we can talk with your, I mean, the idols, right? The person that, oh my god, it's there coding and creating stuff. So it's amazing. And
Yeah.
a question here, so to go to be part of this, you need to be certificate and how
Yeah. This is a question by Domingos. Do you need a certificate to get to AWS Community Builder? Great question, Domingos. Thank you.
You do not need to be certified. I
Yeah.
think certifications can help, but I say it's more like if you've written a blog post or two, that'll definitely help you. If you've done like YouTube videos or like you like wrote an article about something related to cloud, that'll obviously help. I found that it's kind of like an accelerator slash incubator for content creators. But like what Suleiman said, I thought was really spot on. It's that you don't need to be a cloud expert. I think you just need to be like a cloud enthusiast first. And if
Cool.
you're excited about building, technology, right? Like this is totally for you. Because like when I started, like it's kind of day and night from when I started to like what I'm doing now. And like I don't want to say like I didn't really know that much, but I feel like compared to what I know now, it like pales in comparison to what I knew at the start. But I was excited to make content, and I was like, oh, I do blogging on Instagram. I like make like shorts and Instagram Reels and like TikToks and stuff. And I did some blog posts too, like some technical blogs and everything. And I think it's just like being excited. Like that's kind of the energy that you bring to the program, and then the program will teach you all of the stuff that you might need to know about building in the cloud. But yeah, I just say like come with passion and excitement.
Cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you don't need to be certified as long as you have the drive to learn. The best way I would say is just start writing content, create an account at DevTool or your personal website and start writing about it. And it'll be easy for you once the application open. You'll show what you already have done, and then it'll be easy for you to just get it.
Cool.
Definitely worth it. I would say it's
Yeah.
sometimes even worth than some certificates because you got access to trouble resources.
Totally agree.
Cool. I have known a few people who got into the program and got their first AWS certification after that, and the community had a great impact on this because not only you have access to a lot of people who has an extent knowledge about AWS, but also because when you are in the program, you can get like 100% discount on any certifications once a year. So this is great.
Yeah, a voucher. You get a voucher to get a free certification.
Yeah, cool.
Just 100%? Just that?
Yeah,
Oh my god, amazing.
I just got a new certification like really yesterday. It was all because of the community.
I saw
Studying, voucher, everything. So this is great.
It
Yeah.
was on ML, right?
ML specialty, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Congrats.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks.
Congratulations
Yeah.
on that.
That was totally on the community, guys. This is really great. Voucher, knowledge,
Mhm.
People
And then you also
support. It's really great.
you get some swags too, right? The
Oh,
same
And
thing.
swag.
some
Yeah,
cool, very cool swags.
yeah.
Yeah, we
In
got
the
a like
credits.
Yes.
and credits
And
Yeah.
and
credit. Yeah.
credits to use and to play a lot in AWS.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
This is great.
Very good reasons, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Very.
guys, back to you in your day-to-day work. What do you guys use at most when you are working with AWS? What are your fields of expertise and what services, what AWS pieces do you guys use the
Yeah.
most?
Because as we know, it's really not impossible, I don't know, but it's really difficult to know everything in AWS, right? So we
Ooh,
we, we have a set of features and areas that we have expertise. So yeah, talk about that, please.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah. Like my field is in storage, right? So how to store storage, how to store and retrieve data. And as we know, this recent days, we've been people have been generating insane amount of data, and then data is just like a new oil right now. So everybody want to be able to have data, store them, retrieve them, do whatever they want to do with it. So, what I do on a day-to-day basis is helping customers save money on storage by,
cool.
directing them to the right type of storage to use, and then setting a different life cycle. If you don't using a storage, you can put in cold storage, you can bring it back and all this kind of stuff. This is pretty much what I do on a daily basis.
Cool.
Yeah.
And costs really can go wild when you don't like
When you
configure it
don't,
properly.
yeah,
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 And
exactly.
monitor, right? And
Yeah,
do a
exactly.
sanity check and everything that you're saving, if you really need it, or what type of storage you are getting, if it is the right one or not. So
Yeah,
all these analysis are needed to
yeah,
make the cost,
definitely.
right,
Yeah, definitely.
under control.
Yeah.
Nice.
cool. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'd say between last year to this year, I think the services that I've been using and just my overall like focuses have kind of changed a lot. I'd say like last year I was very like front end focused. So obviously I was like using like Amplify like front ends. I was doing a lot of stuff with like AppSync, which is a GraphQL API transformer. I'm doing now a lot more like data modeling. So it's like writing schemas to DynamoDB.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
doing like authentication patterns with like Cognito. That's like an auth plugin for AppSync. But doing also stuff like a lot of data stuff. I'm in the data category, so that's like for the community builders. So data is always like super top of mind, like personally and for work. I've been doing a lot more stuff working with large data sets for like ML models, like as is everyone, right? Of like learning how to
Mhm.
use data sets. But yeah,
Cool.
like that kind of like plugs in with SageMaker. So been like learning how to like run a model, create an endpoint, configure that into an application. Um, yeah, I kind of just I go where I'm told and try to build what I can or what I'm told to build because it's
Yeah.
like there's so many tools, everything like kind of like the coolest thing that I hadn't really worked with before. I had to do like a text to speech microservice and
Oh,
um,
really? Wow.
yeah, and then you have like AWS Poly, but then like you configure that into like a serverless build. So
Yeah,
that can come in with like Lambda or Fargate or like different types of serverless compute. Um, but
cool. And I guess it like worked like a charm.
it was honestly I'd say the getting the params, like knowing how to configure it inside of Lambda was like kind of the challenge. But then once I
Mhm.
learned how to do it, then I was like, oh, I can invoke it this way, or like I can pass these props into it in this pipeline. So I've really liked building with serverless tools because, especially with Lambda, like there's cool stuff you can do even with like a database where like as an item is updated to a database, you could like have a script that does other things like in your environment or like this thing changes, so that means that these things change. So yeah, it's kind of cool. I like seeing how things connect, like especially through community builders program. A very quick story, but
Please
one
go.
of yeah, this is a really quick story. But one of the people that they gave a workshop. His name's Renee Brandel, and he does a lot
Mhm.
of blogging for AWS. And he gave like this really interesting workshop. This was like my first 1 or 2 months into the community builders program, and it was on like full stack software engineering, and it like blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. It was like a Pokedex. So you like
Mhm.
it'll like it was like a front end and then it'll build kind of like a Pokemon and then like it adds it, I guess, to like your account or something like that. Um And I messaged him and I was like, that is so cool, but like, can I talk to you? Because like I have so many questions. And then like as he was walking me through his build, he was like showing me the code of like what a code repo looks like for a
Oh
cloud
wow.
application. Yeah, and then we got to the API part because that was the data modeling side of things. And then I was like, oh, so what is that? Like, how does that do those things? And he was like, oh, you want to know about the secret sauce because that's the secret sauce. I was like, I want to know about the secret sauce because it was like crazy. I was like, oh my god, this is magic. So that's kind of where I like how the API connects to the database, because it's like you tell the API to do things, and then now the API is going to tell the database like, hey, store these things or update these things. But it was like seeing that and actually talking to somebody about it was like super eye-opening. I think that's one of the best things. And so you were just talking about this too. It's like the connections you make through the program is awesome, because I benefited from people like Renee. Also, Michael Leendo has an amazing cloud blog where I've learned a lot about how to use Stripe in Lambda and like other types of configurations. So it's like, yeah, sure, like you can read a blog post online, but like if actually having the opportunity to talk to people, even if it's like
It's
5 or
totally
10
different.
minutes,
It's totally different. Yeah.
so different.
Totally
Totally
different.
different. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
As Nate said, when he posted the problem about AMR, right? And a person was there that created the feature could help him. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been surprised at how willing like people at AWS are to like talk to Kubernetes, because it's like you never know. Like people are busy. Like everyone has millions of things on their to-do list. Like don't we all? But then they're like, oh yeah, like I have like quick like 15 minutes. Like I've talked to people like on their lunch break. They're like, no, it's fine. Like let me explain this. I was like, okay. And then they'll like explain to you like really complicated things in a really easy to understand way. Like that's such an art of like, yeah, sure, I get it's super complicated, but like, can you explain it to me like I'm 5? But then make me not feel like you explained it to me like I'm 5. You know, like they have like such a good finessed way of doing that, and it
Yeah.
like I benefited so much from having those conversations. Like kind of like people that are just like, hey, sure, like I get that you're new to this. Like let me bring you into the community. Like I've really found that from like the AWS side, and then also from community builder side. Like Suleiman, like Nelson, like when we met through New Voices, like there's so many like cool people that are in this community, and like people that will like jump on a call and talk. So
Yeah, and from different areas, right? So, for example,
yeah,
you're focused in some part of the process, and for example, I am focused in another part. I said we can talk and then share knowledge, right? So that's amazing. We have people from different areas and different challenges, so that's amazing.
exactly.
Awesome. And people are really willing to explain and to teach, and they really are happy when they can share knowledge. This is
Yeah.
something that is really amazing about the community, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We have one more question from the guys at YouTube. Pedro just asked, when did you guys decide to become community builders?
So I'll jump into that. I saw the community builder application link on Twitter, and I click on it. I read the requirement. I said, I need to be in that group. It was about almost 2 years ago, and I automatically joined it. And since then, I'm glad I joined it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So you saw the description and said, I want to do all of this. So I
All
want
of
to be
this, yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Nice. Good,
Cool.
good strategy.
And this is something great, Pedro, because you guys, I know Pedro. Pedro works with me at A3 Data, our company, and you should really apply to become a community builder. You already work with AWS and knows a lot of stuff about our data stack. Just go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. And good luck.
Cool. Okay, guys, I have just one more question that was not actually planned before, but I was very interested on knowing how did you guys participate on the community in the last few months. We have been together on a very new program called AWS New Voices, and you have segments for different specialties inside the program. How did you guys acted in there? How did you guys contribute with the program?
Yes.
I'll jump in. Yeah, so that program was really great because I think so going into from like my third to like my fourth year community builders program, I feel like I'm dating myself now of like how long I've been learning AWS stuff. But yeah, I'd say like when I started the program, it was kind of like learning like what are the things I can do in the cloud, or like what's possible in the cloud. And then next year was like, okay, let's build a thing in the cloud. Like year 3 is like, let's build all the things in the cloud. So now that I've like been learning and building for the last few years, I have been trying to do more like speaking and like sharing about stuff, because I don't like talking about stuff unless I actually know like what I'm talking about. So I want to come from like I have something cool to share. So one of the cool things that I actually put together for our free code camp was a 6-hour intro to AWS Next.js course.
And that was awesome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I know we talked about that in Slack.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. It was crazy. It took a while because I wanted it to be right, but it got like 60. I think it was like up to 62,000 views so far, like on YouTube, which is like crazy. I've never made something that reached that many people before, but it's stuff like that. Like I love like seeing in the comments that people are like, "Oh, this seems really complicated, but you made it like explained like in a way that I can understand it," or like demystifying tech. And I've also spoken at a bunch of other events like Geekle's Worldwide Software Architecture Summit. I gave a talk, kind of like a workshop-y talk about using serverless micropayments. And yeah, it's just I like being able to like have some hot takes and some opinions that I can share and that I've been building in the cloud. When I started, I think I kind of was just trying to like lurk and like see what other people think. So now I guess I have like opinions, you might say. So it's nice to be able to like have opinions, but then also like create on ramps to get people in, because it's like opinions are worthless unless you can help somebody achieve some sort of goal or outcome. So I could have my hot takes all day long, but like I like being able to show tangible ways to build it. And the free code camp thing, like that was really cool because I didn't know how to build actually that project until I was like, can I make images in a server? And then because it's like we use Canva, Photoshop all the time, but like, could I make images and then generate them in Lambda? And like, turns out you can. So that was kind of like my weekend own internal hackathon project. Not for anything, just for myself. And then I decided to go live at like 1 a.m. on like a Tuesday like morning, which was like random time. But then like I was talking to like someone at Free Code Camp. They're like, oh my goodness, like would you remake your live video and like as a course? I was like, yes. So like that's cool. Like it's cool to like learn something, have it be interesting, and then share that with other people so that they can do it too. I really like that about community builders. So I've tried to like give back when I can and answer questions in the Slack channel and all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, usually the way I contribute is through blog post. Whenever whenever I think that there is a specific topic that people need to learn about it, I go down and do my researches and write a blog post about it. And then also the community builder, I think they have a website where you can go and submit your article so that they can push it. And then this private Slack channel as well on the storage side. Sometimes you go there, people ask questions, you go and answer the question. Sometimes you have questions, you go answer, people answer to you. So and there's a lot of experts in that channel. So it's like it's just amazing how the support and the wealth of knowledge that you get from this program.
Cool. And something that I would like to add, perfect guys, but if anyone wants to join the program or anything like that, you don't have like a right or wrong way to contribute. There are people who like give courses, make videos, write blog posts, answer questions. There are a lot of ways to contribute, as long as you're willing to do it, as long as you want to help people learn more about AWS and learn more about building things on cloud-based stuff. This is great. I think this is all that you need, right?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. And then if you apply, you don't get it, you can reply again. There's no like limits or something like that. It's pretty easy. And then they're making it easier for people to join as well. They're not trying to, it's like gatekeeping or something like that. They want more people so that we can support AWS. So the more people, the better. So they just want to make sure that you have what it takes to join the program.
Yeah. And sometimes when you are creating, as you said, said Brian, when you're creating content, you are learning, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's exactly what I like. When I am doing something for the community, I am also learning, right? And making sure I understood, because if I need to explain, I need to understand, right? And need
Exactly.
to translate that in my mind to make sense. So that's amazing process for me when I am really teaching something. That's why I am really enforcing that I understood and I learned. So that's amazing for me.
Yeah.
Cool. So, guys, I have to I have to put a question, and this is a very interesting one. What was your biggest challenge so far with AWS? Share with us your stories.
Just one, or
Oh, you can share as much as you like.
no? I'm just kidding.
Like I have top 10 list here. Yeah.
Oh, let me see.
The beginning.
Yeah.
I
The beginning was easy because I was going, I was following the basics one, and then, you know, the beginning wasn't that hard for me. Yeah, yeah. But like I was taking the solution architect exam. It was pretty challenging when I was taking that one. Yeah, it was pretty challenging, and yeah, that was one of the main challenge that I encountered when in AWS. Yeah, but
cool.
it's
And
good.
and
Once you
and
get out,
how long it was like the associate?
oh, the associate, yeah,
Cool. And for how long did you prepare for this certification?
about a month, one
Oh
month.
wow,
Yeah,
just
one
a
month.
month. I was expecting something like,
Yeah.
oh, I studied for 6 months. It's something.
Yeah,
1 month.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Suleiman's a
Okay.
pro, so that's why
yeah,
it took him a
yeah.
month.
So and then I took it, and I was like on December 1st. I say, okay, I need to get this one before we roll into the next year. And on January 1st, I took it, and then I got it. So I really got myself prepared. That was one of the things that I really wanted to knock out from the previous year. Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be very opposite. I'm Suleiman, you're a pro, so obviously the beginning was like not difficult for you. I thought the beginning was so difficult for me. It was like I literally felt like I was like I don't know, like I don't even know how to like describe it. Like I didn't understand how anything worked. Like I would just be completely straight up honest. Like it was learning everything for the first time. And I think coming from a non-technical field, you have to think about things differently. And like I can understand like if you had like a background in like engineering and then it's like, oh, coding, but now on servers that I don't own someone else. For me, it was like API, what is that? Okay, that's an interface for application programming, and we have a database, and that stores things like Google Drive, but not. And then we need to like authenticate with like
Yeah.
do we have Google? Why are we logging in? Like everything didn't make any sense until it did. Um,
And something just that you
you
mentioned,
know,
you are not from a tech background, right?
no, not at all. I did like I did like the certification thing in college that was for it was on social media analytics. So it was looking at
Mhm.
like social sentiment analysis online and like creating data sets off of user conversations on like Twitter Firehose data or something like that. But like that's like a it's like a UI and you kind of like create your own cluster of
Mhm.
conversations and you network them together. It's not like you built that. Someone else did. So yeah, it was like nothing like nothing made sense for the longest time. And I think the turning point for me was maybe not as much trying to study for the certification as much as trying to build like a real product, like doing like a real thing.
Yeah,
And I'm a big like learn as you build. And I had a cool
I
opportunity.
really love it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like my first kind of dev job. Was a company called The Capital, which I'm a co-founder of now. But when I started, this was in 2020, and my boss like wanted us to move to AWS, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in the community program. I could probably help with this." But it was like they had a Firebase Angular build, and it was like take that. This was this was my talk at reInvent last year, and it was like, okay, take this build and then build it on AWS. But the funny thing is I didn't have access to the Firebase stuff. So I literally had to learn what an API is, what authentication is, and like model it to that. And I would say that that is the single best way to learn. This is a hot take, but it's like if you have a build that works at a company and you don't have access to it, but you have to model how it works. Like you can log in and see it, but you don't have access to the code, you don't have access to the build or the scripts or anything. Can
Uh-huh.
you rebuild it in another cloud?
Oh, wow.
And it taught me so much about Google Firebase and AWS concurrently of like, oh, okay, so you have like Google sign in, so that's Cognito, but that's the hosted UI and we have multi-authentication login. So like that's this feature for this. And like the API, how like users have posts, that's a specific data model that's paired with the user, but we need this pointer intermediary between like the user object, like the user table and the post table. And it's like learning how that works. It was like it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it was like the most insightful journey I've ever gone on. So
Yeah, yeah.
This is really cool. It's like,
learning in real time.
yeah, like it's like it's not as drastic as this, but it's like learning how to work with parachutes when you are like skydiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
basically.
I have to learn this.
You had
this
and you
doesn't
have
work.
to do that really really fast, right? Because otherwise you die. And one
Yeah.
thing for me that the cloud is really a challenge. I mean, because it's not about as you said, it's not about cloud, it's about technology, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're configuring a VPC, you need to know about network, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're working with database on AWS, you need to know how the database works. Okay, the AWS does a lot of work for you, but you need to understand. So for me, the problem was not even with cloud, because cloud, as I was a technical I was already working as a technical person. The problem for me was more about, okay, I need to deeply understand the concepts to go to cloud and configure in a good way, because cloud is easy but can be really a big problem if you do the wrong way, in the wrong way, right? You can
This is
put
so, yeah.
something to work, but it's not secure, it's not, I mean, performing well, it's really costing a lot because you configure it wrong, because anyone can put a hands there and do something,
Yeah.
but you need to know what you're doing, and that's really the challenge for me. I don't know if you agree.
Cool. This is
100%.
so
And then
true.
I have people that come to me and they say, I want to get into the cloud, right? They have zero technical background. I say the cloud, yes, the cloud, but it's somebody else's computer. So you need to have the basic IP addressing, all this kind of stuff. You need to know all those basic before you move to the cloud.
Yeah.
If you skip that, you'll go to the cloud and then you'll be like, this is too much. I cannot figure out. So you have to make sure that you have the basics, because pretty much just like you were saying, it's it's just the
It's
same, but somewhere else. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Know
Yeah.
your concepts.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
And this is so true, and I totally agree. And that is exactly why I tell everybody who is interested on certification to do the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification first,
first,
Totally agree.
because
don't skip it. Yeah,
it's the widest one.
yeah,
You like get an overview of pretty much all the, not everything of course, but all the big areas on AWS. Then you can work. You study like storage, you study about compute, you study about billing and costs, you study about well architected framework,
Organ.
about some things about network security. It is really 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 great.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
The CCP was really helpful for
Yeah,
me to just get that foundation. And I also know there's like the AWS workshops. So like if you look up like the catalog, or like you do like AWS like insert your service and then something workshop, there'll be a lot of stuff that comes up. Like there's a lot of stuff with SageMaker, and it was like pairing like studying for a certification with those workshops was then helpful, because then I was like, oh, like that's the EC2 instance that you were talking about, or like, oh, I understand how like the S3 hosts the app and then we distribute that to CloudFront, and like only CloudFront can see the what's in the bucket because it's private. So it's like seeing like building it in the AWS console has been really helpful to see that. As well as like getting the knowledge from the certification setting too.
Expectations. That makes
Cool,
sense.
cool. Okay, so guys, I think we are getting to the end of our conversation. This is so sad, but I have a last question. There are a lot of people who watch the episodes, watch the podcast, and they are trying to get into the tech field, try to get to work with it. So what would you guys say as a tip, as a recommendation to everybody who is watching, who is trying to learn AWS to get their first cloud-based job, tech job whatsoever? What's your tip on that?
Yes.
I will jump into that. AWS is doing some really good job in putting a lot of resources out there. I don't have the link in mind, but there are resources where anybody with zero background can go and get started from the bottom. So these are the right place to go. And then the clouds, you don't have to be super technical. You can build your skill as you learn. So it's nothing crazy. It's easy. I mean, not easy, but it's not too complicated, right? So anybody who really want to get into the cloud can get into the cloud. We just need to put in the work.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Great.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think if you wanted a framework to build apps in or scripts in, so there's kind of like three that come to mind, like understanding AWS Amplify as a framework for building infrastructure as code. I am so bullish on that. Like, I think that Amplify is the best. I've convinced my team at work that it's pretty cool. So when I tell you
Great.
that it's cool, like people are taking note. It's really cool. Not just like companies I work with, but like elsewhere. Also CDK is cool, and then SAM. So those are like
Yeah.
other kind of infrastructure as code building on AWS. Serverless framework is also really great too for building a lot of like serverless type of applications. But I would say if there's like something that you were like I have this idea for something and I want to go and build it, like take Amplify, take CDK, take SAM, take serverless, go to their blogs, like Suleiman just said, like go to those resources and like see how other people build it, like build test projects, and then be like, okay, can I do this but like in my use case? And if you have like a really like cool idea, like I want to make the Tinder for cars, like swipe until you find the best car that matches, I don't know, your interests or something like that, and it'll like match you with this database. Doesn't necessarily need AI. It could just be a database of cars. But like, if you can like have something that you're excited about, you'll be more likely to build with it. So I feel like have something that gets you excited in the morning. That's like, oh, I can't wait to finish work so that I can work on my cool little side project. And then the cool little side project can become like your side hustle. And then maybe that's a company. Like, who knows? But it's like, find something that like inspires you. Like, I want to bring something into the world and have it be an app I could see on my phone or on a computer.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I remember when I first finished taking my certificate, I had so much like startup idea that was gonna popping up of my head. I was, oh, this is possible. I can do this. This is possible. I can do this. So it's amazing. Once you get into it, you just get addicted and you keep going and going. Even a lot of people don't know that you can build a static website on S3. It's a good project to start. Joomla, WordPress, or a basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript website, and then you can show it to your friends, family, and then you can build up on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. I really loved our conversation. It was
Yeah.
really, really great. Thank you
Yeah,
so
that's great.
much.
Mhm.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody
so
who
much
is
fun.
watching on YouTube, thank you guys for being with us today. That was really great. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, like the live session if you liked it, share with your friends, and just click to be warned when we publish no stuff.
New videos. And one thing, we'll put your network there. You do have an Instagram or blog post or something. We'll post that.
LinkedIn, those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can be in touch with you guys. So again, thank you a lot for being here. It's really a pleasure to meet you guys and to show this big knowledge for everyone that's watching us. So thank you a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was such a blast.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Thank you guys. See you next time.
All right.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.